The B Plus Wrestling Podcast.
The moves.
You might not be an A, but you are a B plus.
Check it out! Here we go! You wanna mess with us?
All right, ladies, gents, and non-binary friends, welcome to another B Plus podcast. I'm your host, GregUnchained. Today is Friday. You know what that means. It's time for our favorite day here at the B Plus podcast. It's Aussie Grapps Day. I don't know if I can say that anymore now that we have the B Plus flagship. You know, the flagship should probably be our favorite day here, but let's be real. The whole reason we talk about the rest of the world of wrestling is to bring people in so that we can hit them with the Aussie stuff. And that's what we do today. We like to talk about everything happening in the world of Australian professional wrestling. We also like to sit down and speak to an Aussie grappler or grappler adjacent person. Today, I caught up with the Australian Sensation Craven, who I spoke to late last year. So if you go back in the archives, you'll be able to find it. I think it was in November or December I spoke to Craven. And we kind of got his origin story and everything there. And this time around, we were just having a bit of a catch-up. So it's always good to talk to Craven. He's been in Adelaide lately, and I've only been able to see him at one show, which has been very disappointing for me. But we'll get to that chat with Craven very soon. But first, let's take a look at this week in Aussie Grapps news. Australian wrestlers were everywhere this week. There were three huge major shows that went on this past weekend. Last week, yeah, as you're listening to this last weekend, there were three major shows. NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff, NJPW Royal Quest over in the UK as well, and of course, AEW's All Out on Labor Day weekend. And we had Aussies on all three of those shows. Toni Storm on NXT UK, dropping the belt, sure, but still putting on an amazing performance. Rhea Ripley worked that show as well. Her match was prior to it, so it's taped for the next episode of NXT UK. And Robbie Eagles was on New Japan Royal Quest, tag teaming with Will Ospreay, getting a win over the junior tag champs. They're coming for those junior tag champs at Destruction. Keep an eye out for that, definitely. And of course, the big one, Shazza McKenzie at AEW All Out. That's right, it's Shazza now. We aren't calling her Shazza anymore. Shazza is too Australian. The Americans have rebranded her Shazza McKenzie. I popped hard for that. I don't know why. I just thought it was hilarious. I also popped for the fact that Shazza became a meme this week. There was a brilliant shot. There was a brilliant moment in the match where she did her signature pose with the hands under the chin. I'm doing the pose now as if you can see me, but you can't. This is not a visual medium. Good work, Greg. She did that pose while doing the splits, had the hands under the chin. I'm still doing it. I'm still sitting here doing it. And she got super kicked in the face. And so now it's become a meme. You know, like those memes that are like, oh, me having a good mental health day. Depression. I'm doing hands. Memes, sharing memes in a in an audio format just does not work. So, go to her Twitter, go look for these Shazza McKenzie memes because they are hilarious and definitely worth checking out. But even though we had Aussies everywhere this week, just killing it on every level of the global wrestling landscape, shout out Wrestling Landscape Podcast, the best stuff happened here in Australia, in my opinion. The best show of the entire weekend was PWA's Break Their Backs and Make Them Rumble live on OVO Play on Friday night. I watched it, you watched it, we all watched it. You know how I know we all watched it? Because it trended Australia-wide. At one point in the night, it was actually the number one trend Australia-wide, and that was on a night that AFL and NRL both had games, and they were also in the top trending. But at one point, PWA was the top trend in Australia on Twitter. That is huge. Like, I cannot stress how huge that is. The stream went down, and Rose actually, commented on the commentary. There's so many people watching that the stream actually crashed. Now, I don't know if that's a shoot or if there was something. I still think Rose kicked the cable out. That's my theory. Rose was fucking around under the desk, and he unplugged the wrong cable, right? He was trying to plug his phone in or something stupid, and he blew out the whole stream. That's my theory, and I'm sticking to it. And I haven't heard a denial from Rose either. Just putting that out there. I have not heard a denial from Andrew Rose that he knocked the stream out. So until I hear such a denial, I believe it was him. He claims that it was because there were so many people watching, and honestly, I'd believe that. It's a feasible alternative. But until he denies it, I'm not going to buy it. But no, there was a lot of people watching, obviously. It trended Australia-wide. And one of the reasons it trended Australia-wide, let's be real, James Adultman, this dude got over fast. And there were like as many tweets, like half of the tweets for PWA break their backs and make them rumble. Half of the tweets were all James Adultman love. He came on Twitter the next day, said, I debuted at the PWA Rumble last night, did a business today. I'm going to take a bit of the magic out of James Adultman for anyone who doesn't know, or maybe add to the magic. I don't know. I don't know your life. I don't know what you're going to think of this. But James Adultman is actually a reference to BoJack Horseman, right? Like the BoJack's manager, the cat. I can't remember her name, but the cat in Princess Caroline. I'm hearing Princess Carolyn. Yeah. Okay. Princess Carolyn. She has a boyfriend that she is blissfully unaware is just 3 kids in a trench coat sitting on each other's shoulders. And they say things like, I did a business. And hello, fellow grown-up. I can't wait. I hope we get more James Adultman. Obviously the next day, the hashtag that became quite popular was James Adultman for Coliseum. I get behind this because if we see James Adultman versus Orange Cassidy in the first round of Coliseum, like I am here for this. I originally wanted Orange Cassidy. I assumed Orange Cassidy would sort of, be eliminated first round, and then the second night he'd be freed up to do some comedy stuff because Orange Cassidy can actually wrestle. That's the thing. But if you give him the comedy match first up against James Adultman, he eliminates James Adultman, and then you go ahead with the real wrestling after that. That works just as well for me, and have him be eliminated in the real wrestling match. I don't know. I'm looking forward to Orange Cassidy. Obviously, I'm looking forward to the entire PWA Coliseum. Like I am so hyped for Coliseum. When Ricky South had his moment at the Rumble where he joined the Black Shirt Cool Group, he was the mysterious third man that they've been hyping up for months. It turned out to be Ricky South all along in a huge reverse mirror shenanigans homage to WCW and the NWO and Hulk Hogan being the third man. They've done basically a mirror of that, and Ricky South joined the Black Shirt Cool Group. He was the elusive third man. And when that happened, he pointed to the Coliseum sign. That got me hyped. Bonza winning the Rumble. That got me hyped. Jessica Troy, after her successful defense, got the video played on the screen. Arm collector Jessica Troy, you have been noticed. She's entering the Coliseum. So we've got our 4th and 5th entrance to the Coliseum. So now we can take a look at the field. It's shaping up. We've got Orange Cassidy. We've got Maddie Wahlberg. We've got Davis Storm, Jessica Troy, Ricky South. This is already an amazing field. There's 3 more to go. 3 more competitors to be announced. You got to think we'll probably get one at Hot Dogs and Handshakes, or maybe a day or 2 after Hot Dogs and Handshakes. I'm so hyped for PWA Coliseum. 2 days in October, 18th and 19th at Max Watts. Get your tickets. We've got ours. We're going to be there with bells on. Definitely come up and say hi to us as well, of course. And we'll be there for the Fan Fest as well. The Fan Fest is going to be amazing. But PWA just firing on all cylinders at the moment. I mentioned Bonza won the Rumble. We got an injury update from him this week on Wrestle Radio Australia. Basically, he's having some neck issues that he does need to get looked at, does need to get worked. So he's probably going to have to take some time off in the near future. So how that bodes for his match with Caveman Ugg, I'm not sure. I initially predicted I wanted him to win against Caveman Ugg and go on to defend against Shazza McKenzie because of course they have that built-in story where he had told Shazza she is not a real champion holding the PWWA title. She's not a real champion until she's held the PWA title. So, I would love to see them clash over that, and maybe, Shazza gets her big moment. I should really stop. Shazza gets her big moment and dethrones Jack Bonza, maybe from the top. I don't know. There's some good stuff that can be done there with Bonza as champion. So I was kind of looking forward to that, and his neck injury has me worried. First and foremost, of course, want Jack Bonza to take care of his health because we want him to be able to do this for a long time into the future. But yeah, PWA, man. PWA, in my opinion, for my money, PWA is the best independent wrestling company in the world today. And that's a shoot. MCW, though. MCW, pretty hot on their heels. MCW doing fantastic work. Dowie had a heel turn at this last weekend. MCW New Horizons. If you want to hear more in-depth breakdown of PWA, break their backs and make them rumble, MCW New Horizons and EPW hell or high water. Listen to yesterday's flagship show. The flagship show goes into detail of the results of all of these events, as well as WWE, AEW, and JPW and the like. But yeah, Dowie had a heel turn, which got massive heat, like 14 minutes trying to cut a promo, and the crowd just would not let him speak. They maintained an insane level of heat. From what I saw on like video clips and everything, it was just ridiculous how hated this move was when Dowie came out and interrupted Slex versus Adam Brooks for the title. It looks like we're going to head towards a triple threat at MCW 9. MCW 9 is looking huge. We have a women's title tournament, which was announced. They're finally getting a women's championship, and they're having I believe it was an 8-women elimination tournament to crown that champion over the MCW 9 weekend. You also have Aussie Open coming down for MCW 9. You have Hartley Jackson, who is, of course, an NXT trainer over in Florida, one of the members of TMDK. He's coming down. This raises questions with me. We saw stuff in the UK where WWE people started being loaned to Progress and what have you, and ultimately the UK scene became co-opted. Is MCW the gateway drug for WWE to get into our country? Is there a relationship forming there? Buddy Murphy was at the show this last weekend watching his friend Adam Brooks in the main event. People were shocked to just see Buddy Murphy at the bar. Like, that's WWE's Buddy Murphy. That's the guy. That's the best kept secret. The secret's been unleashed now, but that's the guy who's putting on the best matches in WWE right now. Hands down, bar none. Buddy Murphy is putting the best matches in WWE right now. And he was just chilling in Melbourne, watching Adam Brooks do the wrestles. Is WWE forming a relationship with MCW? Is interesting to ponder. It's interesting to see where this is going to go with NXT Australia and the rumors of these sorts of things. Triple H saying when they were here last year that they are working with the local scene, and now you've got Hartley Jackson returning to MCW and showing up on this show. It raises questions. That's all I'm going to say. Elsewhere in Melbourne, Underworld Season 1 has been made available. I don't know why I said elsewhere in Melbourne. They're a Melbourne-based company, but this is worldwide, obviously. Underworld Season 1. It is now available in full on Amazon Prime, and that's the way to watch it, man. Watch it all at once. Definitely when Underworld was releasing these shows as they were coming out, there were big gaps between the shows that made it pretty hard to stay on top of, but now you can watch it all in its entirety. Definitely get around. It has some of the best wrestling of the last year on this season, so definitely check it out. I'm looking forward to news coming for Season 2. They also put up a Underworld Club, a history for the Underworld Fight Club that you can check out on their website as well. Also coming out of Melbourne, PCW, a company that does not get enough love. They have finally launched a network so we can start loving them more. I'm definitely going to try to get around it as soon as I can. There is a lot of networks to subscribe to and a lot of wrestling to watch, but there is some real talent in PCW, just the names that I know, Royce Chambers, Sid Parker. There's a bunch of guys doing really good things in PCW. So if you have the funds, definitely get yourself a PCW network subscription and check out some really good wrestling from Melbourne that maybe flies under the radar a little bit, because the PCW guys, they tend to just work PCW. They don't work in other places, and it's it is what it is. There's politics in wrestling. We know this. We rally against this. We want people to be able to work wherever they work. We want companies to book the best guys. Jet Ruka put out a tweet earlier this week talking about wanting to wrestle Airbender Royce Chambers, and PCW were like, oh, we're listening. So, maybe they're going to start booking people from outside PCW a little more, and, being able to see Jet Ruka versus Royce Chambers would be incredible. Like that's two of the best young flyers in this country, so definitely hoping, we get to see that match on the PCW network in the near future. Somewhere else that flies under the radar, Tasmanian Championship Wrestling. They only have shows every couple of months. They're a younger promotion, a fledgling promotion, but they've been firing on all cylinders lately. Richie Taylor was there a couple of months ago, and for their show coming up October 5th, I've forgotten the name of the show. I apologize. But the show that's coming up on October 5th is going to feature Damian Slater heading to Tasmania, taking on Liam Lacey, who is a name that I'm hearing a lot of good things about, someone to watch out of Tasmania. And, Damian Slater, one of the best in the country, hot off a match with TJP, hot off a victory, I should say, with TJP, the alternate universe Cruiserweight Classic final that took place in EPW this last week, which, TJP put over hard on Facebook and Twitter and whatnot. He's a big fan of our wrestling here. He's a big fan of Damian Slater. He said that Damian Slater should have been one of the guys anchoring 205 Live as a technician, and that's hard to argue with. I don't know, out of all the people that got signed out of the Cruiserweight Classic tournament, I don't know how Damian Slater didn't get signed. He didn't really get a chance to show too much of what he had in that Cruiserweight Classic because he was eliminated first round against Yoshihiro Tajiri, but Damian Slater is one of the best grapplers in the world, for my money. So, to have him going to Tasmania to wrestle the show there in the TCW on October 5th and also hosting a seminar for the local wrestlers bodes well for the local scene because, TCW is, like I said, they're improving month to month from what I hear. The crowds are getting bigger, the crowds are getting hotter, the shows are getting hotter, the talent's getting better. And so having Damian Slater come into town and show them a few things, he's an infinite well of knowledge. Just from talking to him for an hour, I could sit under that tree with Damian Slater forever. So people in Tasmania getting a chance to do that are only going to be better for it. But now it's time to get to our interview for this week. Before I do, one piece of news for Craven. We're going to talk about it in the interview. Craven has been announced for Singapore Pro Wrestling and OWE's Clash of Kings. That's Clash with a K, so you know they're hardcore. SPW, Singapore Pro Wrestling, I talk about it. You guys listen to the show. You've heard me talk about this extensively. The Southeast Asian scene is popping off. Philippine Wrestling Revolution. I forget the name of the one in Thailand. Malaysia Pro Wrestling. Singapore Pro Wrestling. Don't shake your head at me. I'm allowed to forget names. OWE, of course. Win Dungal. Oh, fuck, I keep butchering these names. But there's one in India that's being watched by millions of people. And Hayden Zenith from Perth is a part of that promotion. Southeast Asian wrestling scene is popping off. We're going to do our best here at the B Plus to cover more and more and more of it. I want to kind of fold it into the Aussie Grapps show even maybe and sort of cover the entire oceanic Asia Pacific region. But Craven's been announced for the SPW OWE Clash of Kings show. He's going to be taking part in a triple threat. And this show, of course, OWE aligned with AEW. Kenny Omega is going to be on this show. So Craven is working the same show as Kenny Omega. There's going to be eyes on this show. There's going to be eyes on Craven. So good work, Craven. Congratulations. But, I'm going to congratulate you in the interview, so I don't need to double myself up on that. Let's listen to the interview now, and then I'll hit you up after the chat with what's happening this weekend near you.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hey guys, just a reminder, if you want to hear all of these wonderful B Plus podcast episodes completely ad-free, make sure you head over to Patreon or Podbean, where we are the featured podcast this week. You can subscribe for as little as $1 a month up to $10 a month, where anything you want to help us with, it really helps out. It's going to help us grow the site. It's going to help us redesign some things. And everything that we get through this and through the advertising as well is all going straight back into the podcast so that we can get Aussie Grapps out there for the rest of the world to hear about, for the rest of the world to see, so we can grow this mission of watch global, support local, and build indie wrestling. So if you want to be a part of that and get some really cool rewards like call-in shows, bonus episodes, ad-free like I mentioned, then head over to patreon.com/theb+ and subscribe today. Hey everyone, just want to take a second to tell you about one of our new sponsors, OUTBREAK NUTRITION. OUTBREAK NUTRITION are creating supplements for survival, sharper minds, quicker reflexes, all the energy you need to take your performance to the next level, whether that be on the field, in the gym, on the gaming field. That's right, they have specifically designed gaming supplements as well to help you focus on those late night sessions. They even sell coffee, you guys, at OUTBREAK NUTRITION. You can get coffee pods, you can get coffee beans, you can get supplements for the bedroom as well if you want to enhance your performance there. These are performance enhancing supplements for every aspect of your life, specifically designed by gamers, for gamers, to stay fit and healthy in the gym, to stay sharp and focused on the game, and to dominate in all areas of life. So check out OUTBREAKNUTRITION.com, and for being a listener of our podcast, they will give you 10% off your order when you enter the code B+. That is BPLUS at checkout. So make sure if you want to stay on top of your game, if you want to take your performance to the next level, OUTBREAKNUTRITION.com, enter the code B+ at checkout. And my guest at this time, joining me all the way from wherever he is, he's not here with me, the Australian Sensation Craven. Let's hope our internet holds up. We had issues last time.
We did because of the weather, but I mean, hopefully this time it's going to be much better. How are you?
Yeah, I'm well, man. I'm well. I'm just getting over a bit of a case of the man flu that the kids brought home from school for me. Yeah.
Well, as you said, like I've been in Adelaide a lot recently, and this is hands down the truth. I never get sick. The first 6 weeks I got to Adelaide, I thought I was going to die. Like I don't know what it is. Like I came down with the worst flu that I think I've ever had, and I remember I had to go back to wrestle as a surprise appearance in Perth, and I wrestled Axton at WPW just a few weeks back, and I remember sitting in the locker room, and people were asking the promoter if I was on drugs, because I was just sitting with my head up against the wall, like, sweating, and I'm like, I am in no fit state to wrestle. And, like, but, like, I was a surprise, and went out there, had a half-decent match, to be fair, but I was just absolutely stuffed. I was like, whoa. But, yeah, there must be something bad going on in Adelaide at the moment.
Yeah, no, it's definitely going around. I know a lot of people have been feeling under the weather lately. Like pretty much everyone I talk to is like, "Yeah, I got it too," and I'm just like, it's the worst as well.
Yeah, it's terrible. Like you get shit. Oh man, it was not great. But yeah, anyway, that's got
to be worse for you as an athlete because you got to go out there and try to perform, and then you guys are grappling with each other. You're in close quarters, so it's going to spread even easier.
Oh, man, yeah, that's what I said. I said, like, can I even wrestle tonight? I said, look, man, I've got a wicked flu. I was like, do you mind? I'll pull out of the car. And he's like, no. Axton was cool. Like, he was like, no, man, I really want to work with you. And I was like, all right, dude, I'm so sorry, but I don't think he got sick. And that was a few weeks back. So, you know, fingers crossed. Maybe it just affects you if you're in South Australia. That's it. Like, you just lose your immunity or something.
It's a localized thing. It's something to do with the water, man. They're putting something in the water.
100%. That is what's happening. We've figured this out. Let's go to the media. Even more so than we are now.
We've got to blow the lid off this, like the kids in Stranger Things.
Twitter. Yeah, water in South Australia. That's us. We created that.
You know what is trending on Twitter? A little bit of the bubbly. I don't know if you've seen this. Just a sidetrack. Have you seen the Chris Jericho meme?
The Chris Jericho thing? I saw the shirt just before when I was scrolling through. And it was like the Bubbly Club, and it had like the Bullet Club logo with like blue, and I was like, "Oh my god!" So I have seen a bit of it, but not like an astronomical amount. But yes, I've seen the shirt.
What any of us would give to be able to get anything over the way Jericho gets everything over.
Well, what's going on with this title? That's a work? I presume. No, I don't know.
It's a shoot turned work. So he actually legitimately lost the title. Like there was a police report, and we know what happens when you file false police reports, Jussie Smollett. Like you don't do that. So
yeah, no, that's exactly right.
Yeah. So there was a police report. So it's a shoot. He lost the title. It's been returned though. It was like a luggage mix up or something like that. And so they spun it into a work online, and he does that whole a little bit of the bubbly. And it's gone completely viral. It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, I just like I don't know. I put up a thing. I don't know if you saw it on my Instagram because I saw the funniest meme where it had Vince holding the title, and I just put up on my Instagram. I found it, and it's got so many reactions. It was so funny. People are like, even Tanner Blanchard, which is Tessa's brother. He messaged me, and I was like, it was so funny. He's like, "You're a bad person." I was like, "You didn't find it funny?" He's like, "I did, but you're a bad person." And I was like, listen, buddy, just because your dad's working for him, I think it was funny. And he's like, no, it's very funny. So, and he's a great dude.
There's so many of them. There's R-Truth ones, Drake Maverick ones.
I was like,
Repo Man. I saw a Repo Man one.
What would you do if you went home and you found the AEW title in your luggage? I would be like, what would I do? Imagine if it made it all the way. Say if it was my luggage and it came all the way back to Australia. What would I do? I'd be
eBay.
Like, man. But you couldn't put it on eBay. Like, that would be the coolest thing ever. You couldn't tell anybody. But imagine coming down to your pool room and be like, see that?
Yeah.
That's the actual AEW title that Bret Hart held. Like,
the original one.
It would be the biggest, like...
If that happened, though, would you keep it? Would you return it? Because the person obviously did the honourable thing and returned it, which just raised the question to me. I was just like, I don't know if I would. I don't know if I would. I want to think I would.
I would take it to a belt maker.
Yeah.
And I would be like, I need you to replicate this the best you can, and then I need you to replicate this, and then I'd send them the fake one back and be like, "No, I'm just kidding. If they're listening." I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm an honourable person. You can sign me. Thank you.
I'm just saying, like, because if the person who had it, if they had have held on to it, if they had kept it, I'm assuming it just got swapped into some businessman's luggage, and he was like, "What is this?" And then he gave it back. But like, if it was another wrestling fan leaving the town, right? Like, I assume that most would be like, "I don't know, maybe I should keep this," because it becomes a legend in wrestling, and then 20 years later, you've got this thing.
I know you've got, and that title has had some pretty cool hands touch it. Let's be honest. Like, you know, I mean, Bret Hart brought it out. Yeah, you know that everyone's had a good look at it. Blanchard, Anderson, how cool was that moment at All Out? Let's just say that was pop of the night for me. I was like losing my shit. You know, like, come on, it would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, but no, I would steal it. I'd Cody, Brandy, I'd return it. Thank you very much. I'm so honourable, good employee. I'll see you soon, Mr. Khan. Thank you, bye.
Yeah, my good friend TK, he listens to the show regularly.
Yeah, he does. I hope so. So,
but no, this is one of the reasons why I love having you on, man. And like, this was a very last minute thing, which is why we're talking about Jericho for 5 minutes, because I've done zero preparation for this podcast, and I appreciate you coming on last minute, but. I do want to talk about some things that have been going on lately. So, you took part in the EPW Invitational tournament, right?
I did.
At Hell or High Water. And, I know they always say in wrestling, you don't make promises, like, unless you're delivering on the promise. Like, if you're the babyface, right? You don't make the promise. Yeah. Your Twitter or not Twitter, you don't have Twitter. Sorry, your Facebook said that you were gonna win this time.
I know.
What happened?
Amber happened. The Untouchables happened, I guess. So I don't know. Like, obviously, I had a good match with Jules. Like, it was wicked, and it was another thing of being at the right place at the right time. I wasn't actually meant to be back in Perth at the time. It was just sort of I got the email and said, "Are you going to be around at this time?" And I said, "You know, I actually am now." And this is a couple of weeks before when they started announcing everybody. I wasn't originally booked on it. So it was good. I'm happy that I've got to wrestle Jules. I'm 0-2 against the Untouchables because I lost the Pit.
Yeah.
And I lost to Jules, but I'm going to beat Slater. Well, I hope so. And yeah, no, it was a good match, man. It was fun. It was a sprint. It was short and sharp. It was only about 8 minutes, but it was good, and I had a lot of fun. So yeah, but Amber happened. She always happens to get in the way. That's twice now. I've eaten a heel, and she slapped me in the face. So I think she's starting to like me, to be honest.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Julian Ward, though, is killing it at the moment in EPW. He's joining the Untouchables. He's got the new look, the new attitude. I'm a fan.
Like, rightfully so. Like, he is one of... There's two different opinions. I'm obviously, like I've said to you before, I'm a massive wrestling fan as well. Watching his work, I'm like, I was going to swear, sorry, but we're on a podcast. Is
That's right. We've got the explicit rating, brother.
Oh, okay, good. He's a fucking good worker. Like, he's amazing to watch. I love watching him. But then working with him as well, he's just like, yeah, he's a gem. Like, he's good ideas. He doesn't want to just get 50 destroyers in for the sake of getting 50 destroyers in. He's one of those guys that you can sit down and be like, that doesn't make sense. And he's like, okay, yeah, no, it really doesn't. Not like I have to get my stuff in because I want to get my stuff in, And yeah, so he's really cool. Like, he should be. I think up until this year he was highly underrated, and now EPW, well, they are one of the best feds in Australia. Now they can see that, and hopefully, we actually don't know as workers. Not that I'd ever give it away. We don't know what's happening with the Invitational tournament, and they're really good about that. EPW don't even tell you that the main guys who's winning or losing matches, so that boys don't know. At the back, you only know what's happened. But I really hope that Julian Moore goes all the way through for the Invitational tournament. I really do.
Yeah, no, I mean, if Gavin McGavin wasn't in there, he'd be my pick for sure.
Yeah, well, then again, Gavin's great as well.
I don't know if you know this. I'm number 2 in the Gavin McGavin fan club, right behind Gavin himself.
Oh, that's true. Well, Gavin McGavin's great, but what I'm saying is Gavin's been at the top. Gavin's held everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not that his time has passed, because he has earned everything. And mate, he's one of those guys like Brooksy. Like, the fact that Gavin's not doing more is just mind baffling. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't think
he had that Gavin versus Australia tour for a while.
How good was that? And he put out one tour and he was everywhere.
And it was fucking amazing. It was like
and
the best month of my life.
When I joined EPW a few years ago now, I can believe that's gone so quick. I went from being this big fish in a small pond at whatever AAW used to be. It's obviously heaps better now. And I started in Gavin's trainee class, and he came up, and it wasn't like, oh yeah, you're Craven, you should know how to do this. I just said to Gavin, I said to him, look, man, I'm here. I'm here to train, and I don't pull any punches. And the first thing he told me, I did a 3/4 roll, and he was like, mate, you need to move your back foot. And he didn't. And he's played a big part, him, Slater Storm, in making me the worker that I am today. And yeah, he's awesome, dude. As a trainer, he's awesome. As a person, he's awesome. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, definitely. We talked about it last time, how transitioning to the EPW Academy just opened up your world in terms of training and everything. So people can go back and listen. Obviously, you were on the show, I think it was in like November or December last year. So people can go back and listen if they want to hear about all the training and the transition there. But you touched on AAW and how it's different now. AAW obviously change in management, and they've become Western Pro Wrestling.
Yes.
Yeah,
so,
tell us all about that.
Well, it's obviously Western Pro Wrestling. A lot of people know this. Western Pro Wrestling, Southern Hemisphere Wrestling Alliance, and WPW Uncensored all run under the same live pro wrestling banner. Like, all run by the same office, different shows and storylines, all run by... The best part about that is when it was taken over, and I'm not bad-mouthing Andrew Carter because he did give me my first bump. I never will bad-mouth him or anything like that, but he was still a wrestler booking the shows. Now we have someone... They have people booking the shows with the best interest of wrestling on mind, not... we have to put these people there and there and there. Like, if you're not booked, you're not booked. You know what I mean? So it's just the whole backstage, the morale and everything is just so much better. You know what I mean? It's just much more professionally run. Essentially, they've taken something and just flipped it, and it's been great. Not that AEW was bad, but it's just a completely different feel. Is the best way that I could put it.
Definitely. And they've started doing those, you mentioned WPW Uncensored, right? The 18+ shows, which
they're a lot of fun.
We've seen huge success, obviously, with PWA going Black Label. Wrestle Rock, obviously, is one of the finest shows in the goddamn country. How different is it, like the 18+ vibe and stuff? Is it completely wild?
Well, it's not wild. Like, it's not like X-rated, but like for the other, like last Friday, I wrestled Selenex. Okay, so I've got me, who's borderline 100 kilos, wrestling a 45 kilo girl. You know what I mean? Soaking wet. So Craven had to play heel, which is with my moveset, it's hard for me to do and I don't enjoy it. So, but at those shows, it's so much easier to do because you're not restricted. Obviously, we have respect. There's a code of conduct, and there's general respect in life. Like we will get if not Tom, the boss will let us go if there's any racial or homophobic slurs. He doesn't put up with any of that shit, which is I 100% agree with. No one should put up with that in life, let alone trying to get heat with that. If you need to use that sort of stuff, step out of any ring. But
cheap heat,
yeah, that's cheap. And that's disgusting heat. Just on that, that's a big pet peeve of mine. If anyone's any workers out there are trying to get heat because of racial or homophobic slurs, don't ever step into a wrestling with me because I won't work here. That's just pathetic. You know what I mean?
There was a situation just this last week with El Phantasmo at the a couple of weeks ago now, I think, at the Super J Cup, and he referred to Will Ospreay as the autistic assassin, right?
Yeah.
And he got a lot of heat from that, and rightfully so. And and he's come out and he's apologized. And it wasn't one of those stupid, like, oh, I'm sorry for anyone who was offended. Like, it seems like he was like, it was heat of the moment. It was, I'm thinking of something to say off the top of my head. It's not scripted. And I said the wrong thing and I apologize truly and it'll never happen again. Would you work with an El Phantasmo?
I would if it's a genuine mistake. That's not what I'm saying. But if you go out there and you're saying stuff that is genuinely offensive to people that are gay or bisexual or because of their skin color or origin, then no. If you're actually doing it to try and get heat, then no, I wouldn't work with you because that's just like one of my best friends is he's gay, and I was like, and he he was at the show, and I was like, and he was actually he was offended. Not that any of our wrestlers did it, but it was fans yelling that sort of stuff into the ring. And there was an angle and all this sort of stuff, and he was offended. He was like, well, why do people get to use that at wrestling shows? And I was like, listen, and rightfully so, to the promoter, he came out and got the announcer. He got the announcer of the night to say, listen, this is WPW Uncensored. You can have fun, you can have banter, you can swear, things like that, but we won't put up with any of these racial or homophobic slurs. You will be escorted out of the building, fan or performer. And I think that's right. You know what I mean? You can't, it's 2019. You can't use that to get heat or insult people anymore. And it's disgusting. So yeah, to answer your question, if it's a genuine mistake, it wasn't scripted, never apologise, of course I would.
Yeah,
but if you're going through the curtain and using that sort of stuff
with the intention to do it and you're unapologetic about it, of course,
I'd like to say, I wouldn't even go out. I'd be like, that's stupid. You know what I mean? Like, that's just, it's silly. But back to the original question. Yeah, so you're unrestricted on swearing and all that sort of stuff. So it's a lot easier to get heat and it's just a lot of fun. You know what I mean? Like where you're at a normal show, which is family friendly, you can't really use that sort of language at all. You need to be a better worker than that. So yeah, I do enjoy them, and it's always fun when there's fans have had, by the time your matches come on, a jug full of beer, because then they get right into it. You know what I mean? So it's awesome.
Yeah. I always say, like, they say that a magician's best audience is a drunk audience, right? Yeah. And I feel like the same thing goes for a wrestler, surely.
Oh, 100%. And the fact that the shows start at 9 p.m. and everyone gets there and starts drinking probably 7:38, by the time, if you're curtain jerking match, it's probably the best place to be, because they're ready to go and they're hot and they're half pissed and it's wicked. So, but yeah.
I saw you work heel at ACW. You worked against Brooksy down here. And
dude,
and I imagine you would have liked to be able to swear at some of those fans too.
Oh, I would have, but I didn't, because it's hard and I don't like working heel. Let me just say, like we've had a chat to this. What I would like to do with Brooksy, we could not do at that time and place for nothing against ACW. It's just literally the time and place and what we had coming up in our careers and the matches. We spoke about this off air, obviously.
Yeah.
What I would like to do with Brooksy, I didn't do, and I know that's a worker should never, they should always put 100% in, but obviously Brooksy, prior to that match being signed, he had the biggest match, which was phenomenal from what I heard, him and Flex coming up the week later. You know what I mean? And so...
And you had a big trip planned as well.
Yeah, well, and I've got, which is announced now, I've got OWE coming up next week. So, I was like, listen, we had to be, sometimes, unfortunately, you got to work smarter and not harder, to be honest. Yeah. And it was just like, listen, we love you, Adelaide, we love ACW, we want to leave it all out there, but surely people can appreciate the time, place, circumstance of the opportunities that we had coming up in our career. So, no, I'm not saying it was a bad match by any stretch.
No, it wasn't. Everyone enjoyed it. Like, the crowd got into it, man. And you guys spent the first couple of minutes really working the crowd and really milking that, doing the turnbuckle spots and whatnot and posing and getting people riled up on one side or the other. And it was a lot of fun. It wasn't definitely going into the match, like, as a fan, I was like, oh, I'm expecting this match to be amazing. And it wasn't the match that I'd anticipated, but it was still a very enjoyable main event.
Yeah, so that's the thing. It's just it's like if the best way to put it is like you go out and you see a football team or a soccer team, but they've got a friendly. We'll use soccer for example. If you know anything about it, you've got two teams that have, one of them has the friendly the week before, and then the next week they have the UEFA Champions League final. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're gonna rest some of their good players, and they're gonna give the other guys a run. Essentially, what Brooksy and I did, we still gave it a good out there. We had a good match, but we didn't pull out everything that we possibly could. That we're capable of doing is what I'm trying to say. And
but that saves it more for a rematch as well.
Yeah, I would love to do it again. But yeah, we've spoke about that because, but however, I think we'll run out of time because the fact that Adam Brooks is not signed to a 6-figure contract is, somebody explained it to me, and it's like trying to say, why is the sky blue?
Because he's got to be soon, right? He's got to be.
He has to be. So he has to be. He is the best, by far the best in this country.
When he came back to MCW at Ballroom Brawl, he said he said something to the effect of like, there are people that want me, but I have unfinished business here. Like, I got to win that title first, right? So,
Yeah.
I don't know. I imagine he's got. I mean, he's shown up on MLW, obviously, and MLW have now a working relationship with the Crash, being somewhat of a Crash regular. You got to be stoked to hear that.
Yes, I do, because I am very happy to hear that, because I would love to do MLW. I've got a lot of friends in there, Brooksy being one of them, who will show up back there, I'm certain, at some point. But even like Gringo Loco, which, he's there. I've got a few mates that actually do it quite regularly. I would love to do MLW just because it's MLW and it's cool, but I'm going back to the Crash in this October and November this year. So fingers crossed I may hear something then. I'm not sure. They also have a really good relationship with CMLL now, so which I would love to do Arena de Mexico, which would be great. So,
So Court Bauer's not in your DMs yet?
Pardon?
Court Bauer's not in your DMs yet?
Not as of yet, but I'll keep checking. I'll just refresh it. So
yeah, definitely. I don't even know if he's on Instagram, man.
Neither do I. I need to get Twitter. I've been hammered for Twitter for years, but I'm just like, nah.
So you still haven't got it since we spoke in November?
No, I'm not making a stand. I'm just not doing it. So, like...
It's not like we said last time. It's not very Australian. Like most Australians use Facebook. It's not.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but if you want to work overseas, I think Twitter's kind of the place to be.
Yeah, this is true. So
things happen on Twitter.
They do. So they do. Well, yeah, you're right, because I'm going back to the US, like I said, in a few weeks. And I hit up my friend Melissa, who was a regular at Wrestle Circus, and I was like, "Oh, will Circus have any shows running in Texas?" And she's like, "Oh, you don't have Twitter. You don't hear what happened. Circus practically imploded." And I was like, "Oh, this is news to me." She's like,
Circus closed.
Twitter. Yeah, so I didn't know about it because I don't have Twitter. So I'm just like, this is unrelated, but I was like saying to my girlfriend the other day, she doesn't watch the news. And like people were saying to her, you need to just like the news on Facebook so you know what's happening in the world. But I feel like it's the same with like wrestling and Twitter. Like if you just don't have Twitter, you don't get the full story all the time. Yeah. You know what I mean? You kind of need it. So I'll get it.
A little bit, but also the thing is as well, you don't get the negativity.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like if you're a person who doesn't watch the news, I want to guess that you're probably 60% happier than the average person who does watch the news.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So, but
same goes with social media.
I have no idea what's going on in the world half the time anyway, because I'm never in one place for longer than 2 minutes. So, I don't know where I am. So it's, it's pretty, there's no point watching the news because I could think there's a hurricane here, but that's in Florida. I was like, oh, it's the wrong news station.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you've been in Adelaide for a while, right?
I have. I've obviously done regular bookings around Australia, but I have been in Adelaide since May. So I've got, it's kind of weird because diving into my personal life, obviously I've got my daughter over in WA. My girlfriend lives in Queensland. I'm in Adelaide and forever traveling, but so I'm kind of all over the place.
Yeah, and the heart is in USA and Mexico and where all the bookings are.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I get most of my bookings. So
yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah,
but, yeah,
all over the place.
That's that. Well, speaking of other bookings, I've got Singapore coming up.
Yeah,
which is going to be pretty big because it's an OWE cross promotion show with SPW with Kenny Omega on the show.
Kenny Omega on the show. Clash of Kings.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's Clash with a K, so it's badass.
I know, it's really bad then. So if they even put the K backwards, I would have been more excited.
Oh, man.
But, no, so I think this show will be run, it's an OWE show, so somewhat it comes under the AEW Alliance banner, which is really cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah, one of the EVPs is going to be there watching the show, presumably.
So, I've actually, obviously going to go there and give it my all, and I put on Instagram the other day, I'm going to be going all out, and I will be, and I'll make sure that the right people have my old school resume and 8x10s and stuff before I leave, because that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
Because it's better than just sending an email, But, yeah, you never know what could lead from it. I mean, look at Shazza McKenzie. She had an amazing match for Brandy Rhodes. Next minute, she's in the all-out buy-in. So.
I believe you mean Shaza.
Oh, Shazza, yeah, sorry.
Shazza McKenzie.
Yeah,
Shazza.
I couldn't believe it when they said that. I was like, mate, there's it's Shazza.
Yeah,
but,
you're not on Twitter, so have you seen that she's become a meme as well?
No.
So you know that moment where she was doing her pose, the classic, hands under the chin.
Oh, she
and
got super kicked or whatever.
yeah, and she gets kicked in the
Yeah.
face. Someone's taken a
Yeah.
photo of that exact moment, and it's
Yeah,
like, me having a good mental health day, and then my depression, like
Yeah.
boom, kick in the face.
She deserves it though. I hope she gets signed. She's been working hard this year. So, well, we teamed at freelance. So it was cool. It was cool to do that. So
Yeah. How crazy is it when you go halfway around the world just to team with another Australian?
Yeah, I know too. Her and Aidan Miller at the same time. But it was great. So it was the first time I worked with Shaz. So and it was cool. Like it was really cool. So I love going to freelance. I'm actually back there in October as well.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome. Are there some other names in Australia that it maybe like, because you've been doing this for a while, but are there some other names that you haven't worked with that you'd really love to work with?
Look, I have never stepped in the ring with Davis Storm. I'd love to do that. I've never stepped in the ring. Who else? I mean, I've never stepped in the ring with Slater one-on-one, but I've obviously wrestled him at House of Hardcore, him and Pitt as the Untouchable versus me and Baez. So I'd love to have Slater one-on-one, which would be great. Who else is there? Richie Taylor. I want to work Richie Taylor really, really, really bad, and we just haven't had an opportunity yet. Because he's pretty cool.
Well, you guys both work Adrenaline Pro, right? So
yes. Oh, he works at SHWA. We've just never been booked in the same match. So hopefully it happens at one point.
Yeah, ACW as well. You guys both work ACW. It's got to happen, guys. Anyone listening, let's get Richie Taylor and Craven.
Yeah, I wanted Brooksy. We've had it. I want a rematch with Brooksy on a bigger stage. That would be great. There's heaps to work. I mean, there's heaps to go through. Moretti, I'd like to work Moretti as well.
Moretti's a name that doesn't get mentioned enough, man. I swear. This guy is not human.
Like, he's so cool.
He's not human.
So, it's but then again, like I said, spending a bit more time in Queensland next year. Like I said, my missus lives over here. Going down to I'll obviously be doing a bit of like Venom Pro and stuff, other places that I've worked in Queensland before. There's a good chance that Moretti might be around. He's close enough and things like that. So yeah.
Pro Wrestling League are doing their thing. In Queensland, AWA is looking pretty tight. Like there's some good stuff happening in Queensland, which is good to say.
Yeah, exactly. And but speaking of Queensland guys, one of the top guys I think in Queensland who I'd love to send in would be Nova. Jake Nova's awesome. So I'd love to have a match with him as well. So.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah,
that's a pretty solid list, man. That's a pretty solid list of people to work. You talked about Singapore though, and obviously the OWE Singapore Pro Wrestling Show, Kenny Omega, and we talked about this last time you were on the show. How the whole region of Southeast Asia is just popping off. Is there anywhere else in Southeast Asia you want to go? I know Zenith is working in fucking India, right?
Yep. Yeah, so
on TV in front of millions of people.
Yeah, I know. So he's actually they're speaking about a season 2 of that, which I may or may not be involved in, which is pretty cool. So awesome. So they've had a great response from that. Wrestle Square's had a great response from that, which is cool. No, Singapore is amazing. Like I said, when I worked there last time, I'll do it again. The crowd is wicked. It's so hot and I can't explain it. It's like working in Mexico. So it's probably my second favorite. Like obviously my favorite place to work is the auditorium that I've done so far in Tijuana, but Singapore's probably my second favorite place to work as far as fans go, followed closely by freelance wrestling in Chicago, because those fans are just one of a kind. Like they're just so loyal. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, the entire region's crazy. Malaysia has wrestling now. Thailand has wrestling now. Like it's all over the place. But there was something else I wanted to follow up on from our last interview, right? Like you talked about when you first went over to the Crash and stuff, it was to kind of help you get out of a bit of a slump. Yeah. Yes. And this has become something that we've been talking about a lot lately on the show is wrestling as a tool for mental health and all that sort of stuff. Can you share your story? Like what went down? How did that all happen for you?
I mean, at the end of the day, it was the crux of what happened. This is going back 3 years. This all started ago. It was just a pretty bad time in my life. Like I got into a bit of financial trouble. Obviously, wrestlers don't make the the best money, especially especially at my level. It doesn't matter how much you get booked. We've all got side jobs. This is not paying for everything, and if it is, it's a very small percentage of us. So I got a bit into financial trouble with that. My ex-girlfriend from a few years ago, we sort of split up after about 9 years. So it was like the world was sort of there was like a cloud, you know. It was just like, fuck, it's just not stopping raining. So
Yeah.
that's when I joined EPW and branched out from AEW. I just said, look, I got to get away from just doing one thing, and I put all my time and effort into wrestling training. I said, I've been doing this for 6-7 years at that time. But I'm wrestling once, maybe twice a month. Like I've done a couple of US tours, made some friends, but nothing major. And that's when I went outside and
Time to try something new.
Yeah, and I guess I put all that negative sort of energy of like, shit, my world's come crashing down. And so I just went to training. I just looked forward to going to training every day. And then it was like, okay, so tonight's Slater's class, or if I was over at Southern Hemisphere, I was like, okay, so Felix or Slate are running some cool drills tonight, and I just sort of, or I was helping out over at the Southern Hemisphere, like with the new guys, like I was helping out running drills with them. So I was just putting everything into looking forward to that moment in my day, or getting to the gym, and sort of just to try and work towards no bookings, just to get better and keep my mind occupied, which then ultimately turned into. That's when 450 actually reached out to me before I got booked at the Crash. I actually put up a photo of me and my ex, and there was some sort of sad comment. I don't know what it was, and 450 reached out to me and said, oh, hey, dude, like, chin up. He's like, come and visit me. You know what I mean? And I thought at that time, I've got heaps of leave. I may as well. I've got heaps of leave now because, like, I'm not really working, and I may as well just go see him. And that's how it all sort of started. He's like, oh, just come to Mexico with me. I was like, I can't get booked in Mexico. He's like, no, I'll get you booked. Like I said, right place, right time. And then, so he got me an opportunity, but then they decided to keep bringing me back. So, yeah, it did. It really did get me out of the slump. So,
yeah. So just having that thing to focus on, right?
Yeah, but it's funny how the world works, dude, because of that, and then because of wrestling, I was obviously going to the gym, and then going to the gym means you go into supplement stores and stuff like that, and that's how, 3 years later, that's how I met my current girlfriend now. Is her sister worked at the supplement store that I was getting my protein from, which, you know what I mean? So the world works in funny ways. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it all just sort of turns around. But yeah, because of wrestling, it sort of got me out of that place and motivated me to go to the gym because I wanted to look good, and I was watching documentaries, and guys are like, the audio's got to match the visual. If you want to go out there and be a pro wrestler, you got to look like a pro wrestler. Yeah, that's, so yeah, it was cool how the world all sort of worked out. But yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because I've had, the similar, like the cloud situation that resonates with me at the moment and stuff.
Yeah.
And I dive into the podcast, right? Like having chats like this is what gets me through the days. So it doesn't, like, I feel like just having something, having any one thing that you can sort of hold on to and work towards that, but like something that gets you doing stuff. Like don't hold on to Netflix.
Yeah, exactly. That's true, man. And it's fun. And the biggest thing for me was I would go to wrestling, and I can't thank Tom, the promoter of SHWA, for this. He's like, and if you've ever seen him or you've met him, he's quite a thick, burly dude. You know what I mean? And he's quite
big man. Looks like a biker or something. He's quite intimidating.
Quite a strong personality. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's the one who like sat me down when I was going through it. He's like, dude, it's okay to be sad. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay, and it's talk. And he would take time out of his day and fuck wrestling or anything, and just be like, hey, you okay? You know what I mean? Like, and so. Yeah, if you've got people that have gone through that, there's no shame. And I was one of those people. I was like, man, I don't want to tell anybody I'm going through shit. Like, I'm meant to be, this person and that person, but it was cool. So, yeah, between that and then obviously EPW welcomed me in as well. It was cool. It was cool how strong the community was to get me through that sort of time in my life. Anyway. Yeah,
for sure. Is this gonna be like a Vince McMahon situation where Tom's like, don't put me over like that?
No, well, I don't even know. So, like, yeah, he can argue all he wants, but he's a good person. He's a softie on the inside. I'll tell you that right now. So
you're killing his mystique.
Yeah, everyone's gonna ask him for extra booking fees now because he'll be like, I know you're a softie. You can pay me more. No, then he'll tell you to fuck off. I'll give you the tip. And he'll be like, nope, No way. So, but he is a good businessman as well. So, hence, and that's obvious in what he's done from AEW through to what he's got now. He's turned one company, turned them into three that are still running. And in the wrestling business, you know pretty damn quick if the company's costing you money and you don't have some sort of external funding that's happy to just throw money away, it closes pretty damn quick. You know?
Yeah, we've seen that.
So,
we've seen that recently.
Yeah.
We have.
Who just went down recently? And I don't know if this was the case, but did Hunter Valley just go down? I read a post that financially it just couldn't keep up anymore.
Hunter Valley turned into Kingdom Pro. Yeah, so someone else brought it, and now they're Kingdom Pro. And of course, we had all the Iron Fist Sub-Zero Pro debacle here, which RCW saved their last show and stuff. But yeah, I mean, promoting's not for everyone. I mean, Hunter Valley Wrestling did have a good run though. Like, so I wouldn't put that in the same basket necessarily. But it's not an easy thing to do, run a wrestling promotion.
No, I've run one show in my life in 2010.
Yeah,
I've run one show and never again, and that was one show, and that never even broke even. So
yeah,
you know, I lost money on that show. I mean, I had London and Eugene on the show, but still. I never even broke even. Never again. What
was the one that opened up in Melbourne? Mayhem Pro, right? With JXT and Rig and stuff? I don't know if they're still running either. They had like 4 shows or something, but... Yeah, things are popping up all the time and then they very quietly go away. It happens. It's not for everyone.
I know.
It's good experience though, like I guess. If you're a worker to go and run a show, it'll probably give you a new appreciation of the people that book you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Because, you know, you've got to deal with like bitching and moaning and I don't want to do this and I don't want to do that and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So I do have the ultimate respect for people that do open wrestling companies. It wouldn't be easy.
And keep them going. Like look at EPW. So MCW is doing 9 years this year, and EPW is doing 18. 18 fucking years. Like holy shit.
Which I am devastated that I'm obviously the card for Reawakening's being announced, and I am devastated that I'm not available because that was one of my goals this year was to try and get onto Reawakening, and I've already taken the stupidly not looking. Not stupidly, sorry, that sounds bad because I want to do the booking that I've taken, but I've taken the Kalgoorlie booking, and obviously there's flights and that involved in getting me up to Kalgoorlie. So I was like. But no, that stupidly is the wrong word. I apologise for that because I do want to do the Kalgoorlie booking, but it was a goal of mine to do Reawakening. So, but there's always next year.
Indeed. So, you know where else you need to hit up Tasmania Championship Wrestling and Pro Wrestling Darwin, right? And hit every state.
Yeah, well, Pro Wrestling Darwin was another thing as well. I did contact them, and I did contact them, but again, I was booked for Mid-Year Mayhem where we had that pretty good match that I thought one of my matches of the year so far was me and Jeremiah Kingsley, where there was Delhi turned heel and RKO'd me. I don't know if you saw that on Instagram, but that was really cool. I read the report on that. So I already had that booking on the same night. But yeah, Tasmanian Championship Wrestling, that would be cool because I've never been to Tasmania. It's always good to wrestle overseas. I'm kidding. But you know.
Well, it is technically over a sea, so...
I'll get there and say, welcome to it. When you come back, welcome to Australia. No, I'm joking.
You could be the mainland sensation.
Yeah, exactly. So the mainland sensation, I like it.
Yeah.
So
you're a filthy manie, Craven.
I know. So, but it'll be fun. So, yeah.
That's good, man.
That's it, man.
That's good. Well, let the people know where they can see you in the coming weeks and where they can find you on the gram and all that sort of stuff before I let you go.
Okay, Instagram's the same, TAS_Craven, probably where I'm most active, Facebook.com/Australian Sensation, and the next couple of weeks is, next week I've got WPW over in Perth, which is a free event. If you can't get down, it's free, there's always good for a free wrestling event. The weekend after that, Singapore, SPW, OWE, then the weekend after that, back at the Southern Hemisphere Wrestling Alliance. The weekend after that, AFL Grand Final Day, I'll be doing nothing but watching footy. And then I don't know where I'm going. I know that I'm booked on the following weekend on the 5th of October. I think it's back in Perth. And then I'm back in the US the weekend after that. So I will be appearing at freelance.
Crazy times.
Yeah, I will be appearing freelance pro wrestling in the US. I'll be doing RCW Indiana, The Crash, Galley Lucha again. I've got about 7 or 8 bookings in the 3 weeks that I'm there so far. So nice. Exciting times.
Yeah, awesome, man. That's heaps good. Keep killing it, and thanks for coming on the show.
No worries, man. Thanks a lot for having me.
So there you have it, the Australian Sensation Craven, always on the move. And he's heading over to Singapore next week and America and then just all over the place. Craven doing good things, getting Australian wrestling out there. He's the Australian sensation. It's impossible to ignore the fact that he is an Australian professional wrestler wherever he goes. So he's really flying the flag with pride. If you like that interview and you like other Aussie Grappler interviews, this week you want to check out On the Turnbuckle. Not so Australian. They have Greg the Hammer Valentine, but that's okay. We can't always talk to Australians all the time. We also have MCW World Champion Slex on the show just to balance it out. So, they do great work over it On the Turnbuckle, so definitely check that out. And also, as I mentioned earlier in the news portion of the show, Wrestle Radio Australia, Todd Eastman sat down and spoke with Jack Bonza, talking about OVO play, talking about streaming, talking about the neck injury, talking about the PWWA title and why it still has that extra W, even though it's no longer a women's championship, which is something I was like, oh, surely they're going to change the name. No, they're not going to change the name, and they have solid reasoning for it. Go listen to the interview if you want to hear Jack Bonza explain the reasoning for it, and many other things. Again, Jack Bonza is one of those guys that you talk to him for an hour, and you're just like, I could listen to you talk wrestling forever. This is amazing. So definitely go and listen to Jack Bonza on Wrestle Radio Australia. And if you want to get out and check out a local show this weekend in Melbourne, New Age Wrestling have high stakes taking place in Albion. Get around the Facebook for details on these shows, guys. In Perth, New Horizons Pro Wrestling are holding an 18-plus event, anti-everything, at the Perth Mess Hall. This show features LAX and Sue Young of Impact fame, so definitely get around it. And if you don't have the money, though, to go out to an 18-plus event, there is Western Pro Wrestling, all ages show at the Baldivis Recreation Center, completely free entry for this show. So get around it. There's no excuse not to go if you are in the area of the Baldivis Recreation Center. Meanwhile, up in Queensland, AWA Biff at the Triff, another 18-plus show. This one is at the Trifford. I don't have the suburb here because my notes are horrendous. But that's all. It's a pretty light weekend this weekend in Australian wrestling because we had a huge weekend last weekend with 3 major shows. You can hear all about them on the B Plus flagship. And if you want to support what we do here, you can do that at www.patreon.com/theb+. You can find me at GregUnchained on Twitter and Stationhead, where I spin tunes while I prepare for podcasts. It's really fun. You can find me at the GregUnchained on Instagram. We collectively are the B Plus Wrestling on Twitter. No, I got that wrong again. The B Plus Wrestling on Facebook and everywhere else, but the B Plus Wrestle on Twitter because wrestling wouldn't fit. Like, share, subscribe, 5-star review if you like what we do, and thank you so much for listening.